I think because of the pandemic, a lot of people are really lonely, of course, and websites like OnlyFans offer a different kind of intimacy than just watching any sort of porn on a tube site.
Well, it's also kind of hot, not gonna lie. Like doing this, like I like people looking at me.
I wasn't like in a crazy financial need or something, but of course there was a pandemic out there and I didn't really have, like I couldn't go partying anymore. So I had a lot of time and I was like, okay, let's spend the Sunday somewhere doing or trying to make money.
I started my OnlyFans in the pandemic for money, mostly.
I do consider myself as like a exhibitionist a little bit because I really enjoy it. That people are looking at me or like just my body. So basically, you can like...
I started right when the pandemic started, and it was just kind of more like a kinky thing for me in the beginning, whereas then it turned into like a more business state of mind later on.
There is definitely a clear correlation between the timing of the pandemic and the site increases that we saw. We were on a growth path anyway, but it was definitely accelerated because of the pandemic.
There are a lot of newcomers to the industry. I think it's amazing that these people that, a lot of them are in precarious situations and maybe have lost their jobs or are uncertain of how their incomes will come, that they have the opportunity to actually try this out and possibly even make a living out of something that they would maybe didn't consider before.
I don't want to say how much I earn, but I do definitely earn more than I used to do with my 9-to-5 job. But it's not so much about the money per se. It's more about like being able to structure your day and your life in the way you want to, you know, because I like being my own boss.
The porn industry has had a shift towards what they call quote-unquote amateur porn since already 5 years. Real people shooting themselves has become more and more trendy, and there's a bigger demand for it as well. But definitely that the pandemic has made this grow way bigger. It's a kind of way of killing the middleman, which is interesting because it has created basically more diversity in the industry. There are more bodies, sexuality, sexual practices, and preferences being represented. And I think that's great.
Occasionally, I'll get like nasty comments or DMs on Instagram, and I just like immediately block the person. But it doesn't really happen that often. Especially here in Berlin, like people are so open-minded. I think it is definitely difficult for people who live in more conservative areas or smaller towns. People can definitely be judgmental about it.
For me, it is really a job just like any other job, just like me going to the office, which is also like a kind of prostitution because I'm selling my body for like 8 hours to a company and I get money for it. And if I wouldn't get the money for it, I wouldn't do it, obviously. So this job or sex work is just the same kind of job. Like I'm missing this shame kind of filter inside of me. This is also why I fight a lot with my mother and stuff because of that. But I don't have that. I don't feel ashamed.
I'm already trans, so I already like experienced a lot of stigma and a lot of like shit in my life. At the same time, like I'm also confident in what I'm doing and I'm comfortable what I'm doing.
This narrative about people in the adult industry always being coerced or forced or, you know, all of victimized, this comes from a very religious perspective on sex work. I hope that the more people normalize creating explicit content, the more people talk openly about sex and stop being scared of the representation of sex.